I'm live at Moonflower Farms, and I'm excited to introduce y'all to what commercial hydroponic farming looks like. So, Federico just went down to turn off the fans. He's walking right down there, right there. He's over there, and I'm at the door where I just came in, and they're going to turn off the fans so I don't have to yell. So perfect. Now we don't have to yell. So hydroponic farming is clean farming. So let me show y'all real quick. When you walk into the door here, you get your feet sprayed, your shoes sprayed, so you can kill any pesticides. It's an organic type of spray. So, okay, he's coming behind, and I'll introduce him in a second, but look behind me. Look at this big farm. Here comes Federico now. We've worked together for 15 years. Hi. Yes, and I just came over with my hair freshly.
Okay, cool.
Okay, cool. So I'm letting everyone come online. We've got 2 people so far. Debbie's here. Hi, Debbie. I'm so glad you're here. So I'm going to introduce, first of all, I want to say this is Federico's first time to kind of be live. And so I said, don't worry, I'm going to be gentle on you. I do these every day. So we're going to have fun. Federico and I are going to have fun. So come on over,
Hello.
Federico. This is Federico Marquez.
Hey, guys.
He's the CEO and founder of Moonflower Farms. You've been doing hydroponics since the 90s.
That's right.
Yeah, he's been involved in the space age technology for a long time. So now he's just putting it all into an actual functional entity, right?
Yeah. It started with NASA as an intern in the early 90s. They were using hydroponics to clean air, clean water, and grow plants for space. Had a really good career at Bayer, and then decided it was time for hydroponics to change the world.
Yes. So I told them when I was letting them know where I was coming, I said, we like to say we're using space age technology to solve real world problems.
Correct.
And so actually list for them before we start moving and talking where it might be harder for everybody to hear you. Why don't you tell them, like, what are those problems that we're solving?
One of the biggest ones is water. A lot of agriculture uses a lot of water. Hydroponics uses about 5 to 10% of the water. So for 1,000 heads of lettuce that we grow a day, we probably use 300 gallons of water. If you were doing it on a conventional field, you'd be using about 10 times more. So that's a really important one.
So let's explain to them, why does agriculture, when they're spraying on top of the fields, why does it use so much more water?
A lot of it is evaporative loss, and there's a lot of top watering going on. With most hydroponics, it's root watering.
Right.
And everything's closed loop, so you're constantly using water. So nothing gets run off.
Recycling the water.
There's zero agricultural runoff. All the water is recycled. A lot of the other water in a normal field would be absorbed or just evaporate off. We don't have any of that.
And the reason is because the roots, the plants, they know that how much they need to drink. And so what happens is they spray way more than what the roots need to drink. And so that's why it actually evaporates off and is wasted water spray when you can actually just give it exactly the kind of amounts of water. How often do you turn on the water system here?
Most of the year, it's 15 minutes on, 15 minutes off.
Like all day long?
All day long, but between the 1 o'clock and 5 in the morning.
Okay, wait, 1 o'clock?
In the middle of night.
Oh, at nighttime. So they like to drink at night?
No, during the day, it's 15 minutes on, 15 minutes off, but we leave it off for 4 hours in the middle of the night.
Oh, I see.
Everything we do is to really try to limit the amount of water we need to use.
Okay. Well, and you're recycling it, so that's half of the saving of it in the first place.
In the summer, it's more than that. It's like 10 minutes on, 10 minutes off. And depending on how hot it gets, and it can get up to 105, 107 in Houston, we might just leave it on the whole time, but we still shut it off at night.
And that's because the plants, are they drinking more in the summer because of the sun?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, they're more thirsty.
They're a lot thirstier.
Okay, well, that's good to know. And we would say that these lettuces we're about to go look at and the greens, they grow faster in the sun, right?
Correct. Yeah, we were the first indoor vertical farm in Houston, and we opened that up in 2016. But I like to say we like our photons to be free. Sunlight, just you grow plants faster, they grow healthier. You have UV to block fungal issues or microbial issues or bacterial issues. So we really like sunlight.
And the plants like sunlight too. So
Yeah.
what he was saying is that we first started as a vertical indoor farm where we used UV lights and LED lights.
Yeah.
We used LED lights to grow the plants, but we found that once we started doing greenhouse farming and we used the sun instead of, plant lights, they liked it better. They grew faster. They grew better.
Yeah.
And we're going to one day test celery to see if it grows better in the sunlight.
We used to grow celery all the time.
I know. Indoor though, and
Both.
it was slow. Oh, y'all grew it here too?
Yeah. We were growing celery microgreens before COVID. And they definitely, in an indoor setting, it might take 4 to 5 weeks.
Okay.
Because they're very slow growing.
That. But what did y'all experience here? Because I was here during COVID. So what were y'all seeing as far as the growth rate with
the growth
celery?
rate, we shaved off about a week.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. But they grew healthier. They grew faster. And yeah.
Like kind of more robust.
More
right?
robust.
Yeah. And does that take 2 weeks? How long does it take to grow?
For celery?
Just the microgreen version, which is the true leaf?
3.5, 4 weeks.
Okay. All right.
But
4 weeks. Wow.
But in an indoor setting, it would take 5 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so we're learning that the plants really love the sun, and so having greenhouses. So Federico's working with some companies, and NASA and Texas A&M and
Prairie View A&M.
Prairie View A&M. Yeah, and they're really loving what he's doing here, and we're really just trying to show the world that there's another way that's more sustainable, that you can actually grow food closer to the place where the people are eating the food. And so we're in the 4th largest city in the United States right now.
Correct.
And you're, an innovator and trying to show the world what's possible.
Yeah, we're in a food desert. This location is actually in South Houston. It's in a food desert. But we can easily grow 1,000 lettuce heads a day. Right now, we're only producing 4,000 because we have a contract for 4,000 a week. Okay. So, but we could do 1,000 a day very easily.
But that's a 60-day cycle.
It's a 6-week cycle.
A 6-week cycle.
Yeah. So we actually have a vertical germination setup that we'll
go through that process when we start moving.
That helped tremendously.
And to not take up the space in the troughs. In the canals. What do you call these?
These are channels. These are tables. These are NFT tables.
So explain NFT to them.
NFT means nutrient film technique. So for example, if I open this up right here, you'll see that it's adding water.
Yeah.
So 15 minutes it'll water, and in 15 minutes it'll shut off all these little seedlings that are growing here. And if you look at this, this was seeded on January 23rd.
So it's 2.
In our vertical growing system.
Yeah.
And then it was transferred from the germination table over here on February 23rd. So mark 1 month, December 23rd.
No, wait,
they'll be ready for harvest.
Wait, December, you mean March?
March.
March 23rd.
March 23rd, these will be ready for harvest.
Yeah, so let's see, these babies are literally almost not quite 2 months old, but inside the system, they're only like 2 weeks old, right?
Yes.
So this is a 2-week-old growth.
Yeah, and by the way, part of the reason it took a little longer. Normally it's 2 weeks from seed to transfer. But we had that big freeze, and then some of them, the cold stunts them a little bit.
Yeah.
They're perfectly fine.
All right, let me see what my view looks like, and let's walk through. I can't even see, it's so bright. I hope y'all can see. I'm just gonna hope y'all can see. Okay, look at this. Now, how old are these? Is this today's harvest?
Yeah, this is harvested. We just harvested those 2 tables over there.
Oh, wow, that's so clean. Look how clean it is, even after harvest.
But see over here, this is a summer crisp lettuce that we're growing. This was seeded back in December 28th. It was transferred on January 25th, and we're harvesting. It could have been harvested 2 weeks ago.
Look how big this is.
Yeah,
oh my God.
This could have easily been harvested 2 weeks ago.
I
And
can't even
I'll
see.
pull one out so you can see it.
He just harvested lettuce.
So you'll see that it's a really pretty
Look
head.
at, show us the
And
roots
here's
here.
the root structure.
Yeah.
So nice, clean, white roots.
I know. Look how
which is great and
clean. Look
healthy.
how clean. Like no dirt, no poop, no problems.
Correct. So
we
I'll
like
put this
to say-
back.
Yeah.
Everyone here has hair nets, and we disinfect our shoes, and we also use gloves during harvest.
That's wonderful.
But normally, human hands never touch it. And the other thing too is we don't use pesticides. We've never had to use pesticides.
Yeah.
So
we like that.
Let me rephrase it. We don't use chemical pesticides. We use biologicals.
Yes. And
So-
that's awesome. Is that secret? Is that ancient
No.
secret?
There's you can go to organic sites. They'll tell you about different bacillus strains or ladybugs or something else that you can use. But we have other antifungal and antibacterial, but they're all organically approved.
You know,
but no chemical pesticides.
You know, something I'm noticing is like in a grocery store, you don't get them this big because they're in a hurry to hurry up and sell them and
Correct.
turn them over. So when we give these to an organization that helps underserved populations, right, with Common Market.
Yeah.
And they're like government subsidized boxes of vegetables, and they really like our lettuces because they're so big and abundant, and they grow well. They grow better than the.
But they're also selling to restaurants and other. They're actually a distributor now, so there's more and more restaurants looking for locally grown, higher nutritional content crops.
Yes.
I guess what a lot of people don't know is like the average distance from farm to table is 1,700 miles in the United States.
Yeah, that's like Colorado.
Yeah, so it's a long distance if you actually harvest from the farm, get it to your table. And not only that, but other studies show that you lose about 10% of the nutritional.
The longer it takes.
Yeah.
Did y'all know that? The longer it takes to pull it out of the source, the longer the nutrition.
So theoretically, you can harvest oranges, and if you don't eat them in 10 days, you might have little to no vitamin C in them.
Yeah, so that's probably happening all over the place.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's keep walking.
So right here we have 5 heads. These will be ready to harvest. Everything here could have been harvested 2 weeks ago, but we're just trying to. Now we have
your cycle. You got to figure your cycle.
The summer cycle is faster than winter cycle.
Yeah, and also the weather matters. Yeah, but not as much as when you're outside. It doesn't matter as much, right? Let's talk about that. When Harvey happened in Houston, our farm was one of the ones that survived.
We had the indoor vertical farm, and we actually got an article printed in the Atlantic Monthly because everything was flooded and you couldn't drive to the farm for like 3 days. But once we got there, we were shocked. It was like a jungle. Everything was growing great, and we had plenty of product.
Yeah.
And then we had 2 bad freezes, which we never.
Oh yeah, remember the blackout of 2021 with Texas blackout?
So that was a shock because a lot of the farms around here got shut down. They lost everything.
Yeah.
We had tables and tables
of lettuce
and crops.
Greens. Yeah, I know. That was our biggest sales day of the year, was that next day. Yeah, exactly. So these are beautiful. These are butterhead lettuces. Look how pretty those are.
This is Natalia.
These are a little different. I'm going to show them the roots here. So talk a little bit about what that is, that little pod right there.
Yeah, we've tried different like rock wool cubes. This is an oasis cube. We've also looking at different cubes as well, but essentially it's a little cube where you place a pelleted seed in, and that's what we germinate our crops in. And then after you have good germination, the key thing is to have really good roots during the germination. And it takes 2 to 3 weeks to have that. And then we can just place it in here and essentially wait 4 weeks. Make sure that's watering properly, the nutrition is good, the pH is good, and then it'll be ready to harvest.
Okay, so besides water, I'm just going to make sure you're in the camera. Okay. Yeah, you are. You're fine.
Okay.
I can see your head. So besides water conservation, there are other things that doing a smart farm, a hydroponic farm, inside of a city limits. Let's talk about other ways that this makes it a sustainable future practice.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I got involved is it just solves so many problems. The biggest one really is water conservation because of what we're seeing. But On a nutritional standpoint, you have much higher nutrition the closer you are to the farm.
Right.
So that's one. Number two is I think about 70 to 75% of all the produce you buy in the supermarkets has pesticide residue.
Right.
We have zero pesticide residues.
Right.
And we've been working with MD Anderson, so they're providing us with that.
Which is a cancer center. This is a global video.
Yeah.
They don't know what that
it's
is.
A hospital, and
it's a world-renowned cancer hospital.
So we've been working with some of the researchers, and they really like the fact that there's zero pesticide residue, and they see that as a potential issue.
Right. And so this is a good time to mention that March 2020 article by Consumer Reports. What else did what did they say? Consumer Reports, a very respected entity who tested all the different types of greens out there.
For a while, there was all kinds of lettuce recalls being on the United States, and right now with USDA, they said lettuce is probably the most dangerous crop.
The deadliest crop.
Yeah, because typically it's top watered, it's out in the field, and you don't know what the water quality is, the source water. So they recommended hydroponically grown or greenhouse grown lettuce, because you don't top water it, and the water is usually very clean, and it's constantly being recycled and treated and reused.
And the animals don't get to poop and pee all over it during the night. And also, you're not using Colorado River water to water your plants. So what kind of bacteria is in the Colorado River?
Well, when you're a farmer and you need water, you're going to try to find it wherever you can.
Irrigate it in.
Yeah, you irrigate it in. With us, we were actually doing rainwater capture, which was great, but we found it was actually cheaper because we use so little water just to use the city water.
Yeah.
So we're just using city water. We average about 300 gallons per day. In the summer, it might go up to 600 gallons per day.
But your future smart farms, are they going to have a system regardless for in case anything ever happened to the water supply?
Yes. Absolutely.
Like there'll be mechanisms in place to not shut yourself down.
Correct.
Yeah. So even though it might be more efficient here, in the future, you might have a design that works with that.
It'll be a very, very resilient design. So
right.
We've got a lot of input from a lot of different folks, and primarily churches, schools, communities, and they're all looking for something, and it has to be highly resilient. So that's what we're going to be rolling out at the end of this year.
We need to be survivors if we're going to continue to live on planet Earth.
But yeah, this is all 500 per table.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask you. There's 500 lettuces per table.
So it's about 500 per table that we're growing, but we figured out how to get 1,000 per table. The spacing on here is a little bit higher than we actually figured out how to get the spacing a little bit tighter and adjust the flow rate.
I love that I'm not seeing any bolted lettuce. You know how we used to see bolts when
it can happen when it gets really, really hot.
Right. And when you also don't harvest, but you have regular buyers now that are harvesting all the time.
Yeah. So it's not a guesswork. We know that they need 4,000 a week. We'll give them 4,000 a week.
Yeah.
And if they needed 8,000 a week, we could give them 8,000 a week. So the new design we have, we theoretically can get 30,000 heads of lettuce a week. But right now, we're comfortable with what we have.
Okay, let's go learn how we start from seed and how it turns into this from seed. So this is what they look like when you put them in for like 3 or 4 days before.
And this could have been put in last week.
Yeah.
We just have a little backlog, and we'll put them in now. This will be harvested next week.
Sometimes when you say something, I'll just repeat it just so everybody can make sure they're hearing what you're saying. So, yeah. Oh, look how cute. Look at these babies. Look at the babies. This is the beginning of the baby. Okay, y'all use artificial light over here.
Yeah, and by the way, during the summer, we can limit it. But during the winter, we put the LED light on because you don't get as much light. But there's a single pelleted seed in each one of these cubes, and they start to germinate very quickly.
Isn't that the cutest thing? That's how a lettuce starts.
Yeah.
It's such a baby. It's so cute.
And over here, this whole area was pretty much placed into the system today. We'll put the rest later. But each one of these tables can germinate about 5,000 cubes, which means we'll have 5,000 seedlings in there.
There's LED lights.
Yes.
they're using to give these little babies some light since the sunshine's not getting under here.
And all these seedlings are ready to go.
Yeah,
So,
they look like they need water.
Well, the system is on now, but one of the things we found out is now that it's getting warmer, we don't need the LED lights. During the winter, they help out a lot.
Yeah, keep them warm.
Yeah,
sure.
because you can actually get too much heat and too much light.
Yeah.
And so now we're turning that off.
I see this look a little bit like more fresh.
Like I said, during the summer, it's a certain protocol. During the winter, it's a different protocol.
Okay, and what is this over here?
This used to be our rainwater collection tank, but now we're just storing 3,000 gallons of city water as backup.
Okay.
So we have had issues with where the city had water problems, and all of a sudden you couldn't get water for like 4 to 6 or 8 hours.
Really?
Yeah. The good thing is we have a 6,000 gallon underground tank, so we're safe. But it's always good to have backup water just in case.
Well, and if the pump goes out there, right, this is easier to get to your.
Yeah,
because it's above ground.
Or if we have a leak, we can easily fill our main tank up again and have it running in probably couple hours.
Yeah,
so we're good.
So what is this big monster over here?
This before COVID, we were actually doing we were growing about 2,000 3-inch pots of basil a week.
Wow.
So and this was a seeding machine that was used to fill those pots and seed them automatically. And then once we got them, we would place those in our NFT channels and just let the basil grow.
Yeah.
But right now, most of our orders are for lettuce, so we're just focusing on that. But we can do thousands. And by the way, this machine will seed about 1,000 pots an hour.
Right, and it also, if you had the right setup, it does microgreen seeding trays too, right?
Yeah. Same, about 1,000 an hour. We could put them, just place them in the system.
Are there any other benefits to? We talked about water conservation. We talked about the clean aspect of, safer greens through hydroponics. We can mention the fact that every time you drive something from 1,700 miles away, you're using gas, which is causing the ozone, for the emissions.
Yeah, there's CO2 emissions you can
eliminate.
Eliminate because for example, if it's 1,700 miles, it's 1,700 miles to get it from the farm. So someone's driving
just to the grocery distribution.
Just to get it to the grocery store, and then they're driving back. So that's 3,400 miles you can remove off the road.
Yes.
And that's a lot of CO2 and a lot of emissions that you're generating.
Right. When you can just go ahead and grow it inside the area where the people are eating it, right?
Exactly.
The other thing is that this is a more reasonable option anyway, because when there are emergencies, like I know I'm not on camera, but when there are emergencies, like when we did have the freeze in Texas, our main supplier of our grocery supplier came from San Antonio, 3 hours away. And the HEB grocery store was empty for a few days because those 18-wheelers could not get on the icy roads and travel to Houston.
That's right.
So even if the grocery stores want to sell you some lettuces or some food, they can't even get it to you when they're not even in your city.
Right.
So that's another issue, is like, this is a more sustainable way of just being a surviving,
like 60 to 70% of our crops in the United States come from
outside.
They're being imported into the United States, mostly from south of the border.
Yeah.
Mexico, Guatemala, Ecuador, Chile, whatever. But yeah, I'd say close to 60% of all the fruit, maybe 70% by now, but definitely 40 to 50% of the produce.
Okay, that makes me think of another sustainability benefit is waste, food waste.
Yes.
So talk about that. What is food waste that we're talking about?
Well, transportation-wise, you're going to lose probably 15% just in transit.
Right, but explain that. Get real detailed about that.
You harvest it, you package it, you get it on the truck, and you move it. But sometimes you lose stuff that's being damaged or didn't treat well. There might be bugs on it, or there's just theft.
Right,
it does happen.
We're just saying, like, it's not sellable. Like, even though it came from the farm and it traveled on the supply chain to the destination, it's not sellable fruit. They call it like imperfect fruit or foods or vegetables. And so it's not perfect enough to sell in a grocery store. So that's considered food waste. Yeah. And how much food waste gets thrown out? You said 70? No, 30.
Yeah, with transportation alone, it's about 15%.
15% of harvested.
Typically, for example, the United States is closer to 40 to 50 when you talk about what's left in the grocery store that didn't sell and what people buy and they just don't use.
Right.
You're pushing like half of what you grow is thrown away.
Right. So, I mean, I had that. I got carrots in my refrigerator right now that are shriveling up.
We have celery, and my wife loves celery, but I'm like, hey, you got 4 packs.
I know. Let's eat it.
We better eat it, or else one of them's gonna go bad.
I know. You better juice that sucker.
Yeah, that or I'll just grow it on the farm, just bring it home and we'll eat it.
It's a microgreen.
We've grown full stalks of celery here.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
It takes a little longer, but we've done
it. I know. I'm growing one at my house because I just took the bottom of the celery and planted it in water, and it's growing from the middle, like the way lettuce does.
Yeah. That's exactly.
Tell them what we used to do. We used to take the head of lettuce, and if you leave the roots on it, I'm like saying, tell them, and then I tell you.
No, same. Like, for example,
when
we did microgreens, after you harvest it, we could plant the roots. As long as you got good, healthy roots, it doesn't matter what the crop is, it'll grow. So if we did lettuce, for example, what I do at home is I have a beautiful head of lettuce and I'll eat it, just pluck it off. And then the root structures there, I'll plant it in our garden and wait several weeks, and all of a sudden you see new lettuce coming out.
Well, and I was gonna say I would stick it in a cup of water on my windowsill, and you could pluck around the edge, and then it would grow from the middle. It would still grow lettuce leaves that you could continue eating off of.
Yeah.
Just in your kitchen window.
But even this farm, I mean, we have a 20,000 square foot hydroponic greenhouse. We're producing right now roughly about 4,000 heads of lettuce a week. But we have no waste. I mean, we generate little to no waste. We don't have to do composting because there's nothing to compost.
Right. That's funny.
So it's not like
there's no dumping like before.
No, there's no dumping.
When we were in the vertical farm, we had to actually dump the vermiculite and work with that.
That's correct.
But I want to tell a funny story. So we were growing these little amaranth. They're like hot pink, purple style plants, little microgreens. Lots of fancy chefs, like to use them. And then we would go and dump the stuff behind the farm, like building up a whole mound of microgreens, roots and stuff. And before you knew it, I would say it was like 6 months. We had these babies were this small when we would sell them, but literally we had an amaranth tree. The height,
8 to 10 feet.
The height of him, at least, and I'm sure it grew further when we didn't tear it down. But that was so funny.
The chefs would come in and look at the micros, but then when they found the garden that we had at the back in our compost, they're like, "Oh my god!" Because of cilantro and basils and amaranth,
it's growing wild.
Mint. I mean, they were just like everything was. They'd pull out carrots and they'd pull out radishes that were growing.
That's funny, cabbage.
It was all of our waste, but it was just growing like crazy.
Yeah, because it still had life in it.
Yeah.
So having life in your vegetables is important. That's what you end up ingesting is the life force of the plants in the process. So I'm going to turn us around. We'll finish talking and wrap up here in a little bit because it's getting hot in here. But we'll have this be our background.
We're right in the sun. So.
I know. Let's get it here. We'll get in the shade and let this be our background while we're finishing up our conversation. Again, I can't see. Let me see. Hopefully the shot is good. I see Federica's head. Okay, good. So y'all can see us. Okay, good. So let's see. What's important for people who don't know? Why is it important to support hydroponic farming in your area? What do people need to know about hydroponics that we haven't said already?
Well, here's the thing that is that our delivery?
I don't know.
No, different. Sorry, thought it was a different group.
No. Oh, you mean the pickup of the lettuces?
Yeah, that was one of our clients, but it's a different truck.
Yeah.
No, one of the biggest things that we're seeing now is that we're getting approached by a lot of different groups because they like organic farming, they like community garden, they build these community gardens. Schools are building gardens. That's great.
Yeah, they're asking you for help.
But they're asking us for help because every year their garden gets wiped out. It's like, we invested $40,000, $50,000 in a community garden.
In the ground. It's
in the ground or raised beds or whatever, and then all of a sudden a major flood happened, wiped out. A major freeze happened, wiped
wipe
out.
out.
A drought,
Yeah,
wiped
all
out.
that energy.
Everybody's gone for summer. Nobody's taking care of it. Wiped out. So they're having to spend money over and over and over again. And
Recreating the wheel every time.
exactly. So that's been the biggest headache that we've heard. And we have about 30 or 40 different groups that we're speaking with. And they said, look, we don't want to make this investment, have everything get wiped out. So they need hydroponic systems in a controlled environment, agricultural setting, greenhouse or indoors, whatever, that can provide year round without getting wiped out and having to start all over.
Right.
So that's a big benefit, and that's what we're hearing more and more.
How many, I'm going to push this back because I want to make sure that they can keep seeing your head, but how many hydroponic farms do you believe there are in the United States, just in general?
Oh, that's.
I mean, commercial.
I mean,
it's not that many, not compared to.
No. I mean, right now you're seeing there's been a lot of investment made, especially in indoor vertical farming. But now all of a sudden you're seeing a lot of interest in greenhouse farming. Greenhouse farming is actually profitable, so that probably helps.
Yeah.
But really, not enough. I mean, for the demand that we have and the need that we have for fresh produce, fresh fruits, you need a lot more. And my personal belief is that by 2030, every major city in the United States is going to need acres and acres of hydroponic farms, whether it's indoor or outdoor, probably outdoor, to support or at least help reduce some of that distance.
Right.
And then provide a healthier, more nutritious product that's pesticide free.
Right. So you have been doing this particular farm, like this greenhouse farm, I think since 2019, but learning about growing both indoors and outdoors since 2016.
Correct.
Okay. So you've had a lot of experience learning the hard way.
Yeah, I mean, when I started in 2016, I had a lot of experience with hydroponics, but not really with commercial food production. It was like cleaning air, cleaning water, NASA related.
All the sustainability aspects of it, not the food chain.
Not the food chain. So a lot of it was just learning, but I knew enough about what was out there that I felt that 80% of it was hype, but there was an opportunity to do something better. And when I started looking more in, and then we actually started doing it, you refer to books and you refer to videos and online, and that's what we found. And probably 90% of what we were reading was wrong.
Right. It's all like, from an educational standpoint, not an actual experiential standpoint.
Exactly. Or then you would do it and you're like, wow, gee, I can do it this way and get a better result for a fraction of the price. Right. Okay, with lesson learned. So we have been doing that.
And we learned that based on your environment, there's a whole set of circumstances. If you're growing in Michigan, it's going to be different than growing in Houston.
The good part about it, though, is everything's always in season. Once you have your right seeds and you have your right system, it's always in season. If you want basil year round, you get basil year round. If you want carrots year round, you want lettuce year round, avocados year round, it's always in season.
Yeah.
But at the very beginning, you do have to test a lot of seeds to make sure, hey, this is working really well.
What works in your area too.
And then you should be able to have production year round.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, let's see. I'm trying to think. Did we miss any of the biggies about why? Because Federica's working on growing or building a smart farm option so that he can provide his know-how and his experience with training. So if there's any farmers or Okay, it says 3 people. Hi, guys. I hope y'all are still there. Guess what? My phone overheated. That's how hot it was in the farm. So my phone completely overheated. So we're going to just kind of wrap it up. We're here in the office. Let me show you this inside here. Do you want to tell everybody what that is?
Hey guys. Yeah.
Here, wait, come over here because I had the camera this way.
Sure. Sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, and I won't take up much of your time. You got things to do,
By the
so.
way, this isn't completely running yet, but these are all live lettuce. This is a growing system that we built for a school, and these little seedlings here. So we have a propagation setup, and we put the seedlings in here, and then they grow into full-size heads of lettuce or basils or herbs or whatever. But right now we have to. This is just supplemental lighting, but we have an actual overhead lighting system that we're adding to this.
Uh-huh.
But we like to call it a display unit, hydroponic display unit.
Uh-huh.
And at one of the schools, they're using the display unit, and people actually just buy the head of lettuce or buy the herb. It's like a living vending machine, and they scan the QR code and they pay for it. And we have these. I don't have any bags here, but they have a cute little bag they put their product in and they leave. But,
These are the ones you had in the grocery store, is it?
yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
But we're modifying them.
Let's say they look taller.
No, they're all the same.
Okay.
Yeah, we're modifying these to be growing systems for some of the schools that we're working with.
Yeah, and there's also perfecting this. Like this is a vision for them is to be able to sell microgreen grow kits, but they've got to get them like perfect so that every time you buy one, you're getting exactly what you're paying for.
Yeah, and right now we have a lot of schools purchasing these because there's a little QR code on the side and there's a digital download. It says Introduction to Hydroponics.
So it's like a teaching tool.
It's a teaching tool, and I think we've sold about 2,500 to local schools.
That's
in the last 2
awesome.
years.
And actually, you can, if you're a local school anywhere in the U.S., you can buy them too because they ship.
Yes, we're working on the shipping now. We have to change the packaging a little bit to make sure they ship well, but probably by the end of April, we'll have all that.
Yeah. So even if you're a school and you just want to use it as a teaching tool, it's a good curriculum addition, right? All right. So I feel like, did we talk about everything that hydroponics solves?
I have a whole list.
There's like, you got all day?
If you have that's my cheat sheet over there. So I don't know if you can see it, but here's some key points. And then, by the way, this is something I showed we have interns here. We have high school interns and we have college interns that are learning all about this.
Wait, make sure there's no secrets on there.
No.
Okay. No trade secrets.
We have 3 high school interns and we have 4 college interns, and they're all learning about this stuff. Once a week, I sit down with them and I answer any questions they have on hydroponics, and they're going over crops, so we're showing them a lot of different things. But the main thing is what I know is like, okay, well, what's happening right now that hydroponics will be a major impact? The first one is demographics. So right now in the United States, 58% of the population lives in the city.
Oh, wow.
But by 2035, they're going to say 70% of the population lives in the city.
Where the jobs are.
So if 70% of the population lives here, if your food supply is 2,000 miles away, you probably have a problem. That's a big issue. So that's one. The second one is farm to table. Right now it's around 17 to 1,800 miles. By 2035, it could easily be 2,300 miles or more. Once again, this is where people are, but the food is thousands of miles away. It's not good. Nutrition right now, when you buy the stores, might have to be roughly 30 to 40%, maybe 50% of the original nutritional content. By 2035, we're probably less than 20% because it's so far away from the current model. The average, there are certain components that we talked to hospitals and MD Anderson, the cancer, and they said that certain with crops, you have certain cancer-fighting agents.
Yeah.
And you're always talking about, hey, eat more broccoli or arugula or these herbs or these.
But it's hard to eat pounds and pounds of broccoli.
That's true, but
Oh, okay.
So you'll never get them.
Wow, so you need to grow them
Yeah,
nearby.
so in most cases, they're gone in 24 hours. So
Okay.
it's like, hey, like, like the lettuce you saw, you're going to get 100% nutrition if it's still growing in the lot.
Yeah, you just
But if you're like transporting it's cut and processed,
2,000 miles.
yeah, so a lot of those beneficial cancer fighting that disappear. So you don't see that. The demand right now is mostly from the cities because that's where people are. 99% of the demand for food, for produce, is going to come from the city, but why is it thousands of miles away? So that's
We need a solution, basically.
we need a solution. The average age of a farmer right now in the United States is 60 years old. And the population of bee farmers is little to none.
Right, they don't want to plow 10 fields
Yeah.
when they can work with their smartphone and their tablet
Correct.
on one
Yeah,
greenhouse.
conventional farming is really, really hard. I mean, that's a lot of out in the middle of the field and working.
Right, and you're creating a solution for those future farmers of America
Yeah.
to
So
find this.
what I find exciting is we have some very young people here, some great high schoolers, great college kids, and they're in there and they're growing some really great products. So they're learning how to do it and they can do it at home if they want to.
They're getting some skills.
Pesticides right now, a little under 75% of all the produce you buy in the United States has pesticide residue. Some of it you cannot wash off, it's systemic. Who knows what it's going to
Right,
be like?
explain what systemic means for people who don't know what that
It's
means.
absorbed by the plant.
Yeah, it's inside the food.
It's inside the food, so you cannot wash it.
Yeah, there's no washing
Yeah.
possible.
So that problem, especially, yeah, I don't want to mention any brands or anything, but it's a problem. And then of course the water. The water is so critical right now. Right now we use on average 10% of the water that would normally need. So it's 1/10 the amount versus conventional farming. In the future it's going to be less than 10%, probably close.
Well, and we read that article that said by 2030, there's going to be 40% less water available for that agricultural farming. And when you don't have water to grow agriculture foods the way that you're traditionally growing them, you are going to have food shortages because of water shortages preemptively.
Correct. The other, I didn't put it on here, but like I said, I've been talking to our interns. It's inherently safer. So for example, right now, 50% of all recalls and foodborne illness that happen every year are due to either sprouts or leafy greens. So it's kind of even, 25%, but that's half of all foodborne illness issues are sprouts or leafy greens.
That's why you see triple washed on the packaging.
Yeah.
If it has to get washed.
You have to really wash it very carefully, but with hydroponically grown or in the greenhouse,
It's just safer.
It's just safer. You don't top water. There's not a lot of hands usually don't touch the product. You do harvest using gloves and stuff. So it's inherently safer. So there's a lot of benefits. We have the technology to do it, but right now it's just a matter of getting it out there.
So if anybody's, because this is a global platform, and I saw the article, I think I sent it to you, where Arizona cuts the Saudi Arabians off.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
About the alfalfa?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but you have a solution for something like that, right? You can help them grow alfalfa hydroponically.
Absolutely. You can grow acres and acres of alfalfa. Just reuse the water.
Exactly. Right. I was wondering, would the Saudis need to look at, hydroponics?
Yeah.
They got the money.
That's true. And it's funny you should mention that.
Yeah. Are you talking to
we have a visitor coming in 2 weeks from Dubai.
Well, they're smart because
So we're
there's a problem. So remember we said we're solving real world problems? The cows can't eat the alfalfa because Arizona's cutting them off from growing it,
Well, they're actually mostly for the horses that they're raising.
Oh, for the Arabians?
They're raising, yeah, they're mostly for the horse feed.
Oh, I didn't read that part.
Yeah, so they have to grow. It's funny, they're growing it. They're essentially rolling out the stuff and shipping it to Saudi Arabia.
Is it live when they roll it, or is it dead like the hay?
No, if it's fodder, it's still somewhat alive because the roots are still
Okay.
alive, the plant's still alive. So they got to quickly transport it over there.
Right.
Hey, you know, you try it.
Well, I'm sure you think it's air flown, or do you think it's boat?
I'm pretty sure
It's a boat. Oh, you think it's air flown?
Yes.
Oh my God. Wow.
But
Think of the money.
But the problem in Arizona was it's a lot of groundwater that was being used.
Yeah.
And the population there, that's farmers.
It's suffering. Right.
They don't have any water.
They're suffering, their own people.
Yeah.
Right. For someone else's benefit.
Yeah, so and it was depleted in a lot faster than they originally thought. So
Right.
So that's why Arizona said that contrast.
Doesn't that make you want to go, hey, over here, hydroponics, everybody? So are you open to people who want to buy your technology or invest in your technology or build? Are you building greenhouses? Like, what's the future? Because this video is going to last for years on the internet. So maybe not now, but what are you working towards? What's your future look like?
Yeah, right now we're building a training and certification facility in Houston. Our goal is to have it fully functional and operational by the end of this year or early next year. Because we have a lot of people that want to do this, and then we're going to provide them with the technology and the training and certification to do that.
Right, because you can't be in all places at one time. Yeah, but you can be digitally.
Correct. So we have a plan for how we're going to roll it out. But yeah, we've had a tremendous amount of interest in different groups wanting to get trained and certified. And, you know, as they get more and more skills, we're saying, wow, this is great. We know how to do leafy greens. Show us how to do root crops. Okay. And then they'll get trained and certified. Show us how to do vine crops. Show us how to do berries, you know. So we'll be doing that. And obviously, you know, we were working on the same technology to make their lives easier, make it a little automated. So,
but I'm just asking you because I haven't had the update from you, but are you putting together a prototype for a smart farm that you can sell the whole farm package?
yes.
Okay. And people can, if they have land, have it.
Looks a lot like that.
There you go. Exactly. So I haven't talked to you lately, so I don't know
So
where
we're
you're.
going to build that here, and then those same groups that have contacted us would say, hey, come over and kick the tires. And I'm like, this is great. We want that.
Built in our land.
Yeah.
Yes.
At our church or school. Or,
well, farmers, I mean, if future farmers, young farmers want a new way to use their land for their accounts, they already are providing resources to, you know, they can continue their father or mother's business by putting a smart farm on their land. And you said that it's about 10% yield more, or is it 10 times the yield, pretty much like in the case of greens?
Depends on the crop that you're growing, but on average, you're looking at either 10x to 20x, depending on the crop. I mean, there's a lot of hype out there. Hey, buy our system, you can do 100x. I wouldn't believe it. 10 to 20x is a good number. So, for example, if you're doing 20 acres to grow a certain number of crops, you only need one. You know,
right.
But and that's how you get that production. And of course, in cities and urban areas where land is so expensive, you want to have a small footprint that can provide a lot. So what we've designed is something that only requires 2,500 square feet, but if they want 1,000 heads of lettuce plus root crops and some vine crops, okay, it'll do it year round, constantly. So that's the feedback we've been getting, and that's going to be our ideal standardized size that we roll out.
If somebody wanted to hire you as a subject matter expert in the area of hydroponics, are you for hire?
Yes, in fact, I have 2 contracts right now.
Do you have time to work on other things?
It depends on the project.
And also depends on when you're seeing this video. If it's 10 years in the future, probably not. So get him while he's available. But also, like, would you, I know you're a good speaker, would you be willing to go to a convention or a trade show and be a keynote speaker?
Yes.
As a paid keynote speaker?
The operative word. No,
right.
Yes.
Have you ever done things for free, and are you done, finished with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's important enough. And like tomorrow, I'll actually be at a Children's Environmental Literacy Foundation event, and I'll be speaking for about an hour.
Okay.
But you know, we're working with them on how we're deploying the technology into the kits and all that. So
Oh, yeah.
that's important.
Okay, good. Well, for those of you who haven't heard me say this, you can go to moonflowerfarms.com to follow, get in touch with, or contact Federico. And he's also on LinkedIn if you want to connect with him on LinkedIn professionally. And what else? They do have an Instagram account, but it's not that active right now. It's not that active right now, but and we're growing a YouTube channel. So if you want to go follow the YouTube channel, we'll see what comes for further.
I have a feeling April will be a very good month. But we did survive COVID, just letting you know.
And Harvey.
Yeah, so it was a little tricky, but I think April will be a very good month.
Yeah, well, we hope so. We hope that all this hard work that he's been putting over the last 6 years begins to pay off, because his understanding of the future superseded the people understanding this is something that we need. And so I wanted to take today as an opportunity to get the word out and to let people know that there are solutions, and there are people who have solutions to help you survive during a food shortage or a water shortage. Yeah, so let's say bye.
Goodbye. Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys. See you later. Thanks for watching. Bye. Moonflowerfarms.com.